My wife confessed to cheating on me for 4 years because she was bored and left me for weeks. Now she wants me back for 17 years. My wife 39F and I 40M had been wed. Our three girls are 11, 13 and 15. We have been together for about 23 years, and we're high school sweethearts. Although I don't know much, this is the only information I know. 3 days ago, my wife returned home from her job. Our oldest daughter was home when she left, so that is the only reason I know this. My wife was sobbing and so upset that she could barely speak when she tried to talk to her. She was on the verge of panic. None of our calls or texts are getting a response from her. I immediately called her parents, who finally replied that my wife was safe with them and urged me to be understanding and patient. They only said that I had tried to contact her brother, sister, and a close coworker. Her brother claimed to know nothing, and her coworker claimed that 3 days earlier she had arrived at work in the morning but had left by noon. The only thing she knew was that there was no communication with my wife or children. Since we are not hearing from anyone, I'm trying to get by without her here with my 3 daughters. All I can answer when the kids ask me what is going on or what happened to mom is that she is with grandma and grandpa and that we should be understanding and patient. Sitting here in limbo is terrible, and it's only 3 hours away. The kids think we had a big fight and are getting divorced, but that couldn't be further from the truth. We never fight. The kids know that I'm not sure what's going on, but could someone please explain it logically? I am trying to deal with everything without them, but my current mental state has me thinking in circles. Your spouse would be the first person you would notify if someone died. My wife would be the first person I would turn to for help if it were me. Though it is possible some old trauma has been triggered, we don't know anything. Nothing makes sense. I sit here in limbo with the girls unsure of what to do. The girls not knowing what to do. No one is telling us anything, and none of us know anything. It makes me anxious, scared, angry, etc. Almost every emotion imaginable in this circumstance. Is there anyone who can think of something reasonable? Why would you do this to your family? Update 1. I apologize. I don't know much about Reddit yet, not much to share because I'm not really sure how to do it. I don't know how to follow up on my previous post. I didn't sleep last night. It was a long night. I apologize for the short update. I read every thread yesterday and end of the night, but I don't plan on using the computer much today. Today, we finally read the replies. I'll just state my knowledge and stop there. I ended up calling the cops last night when my father-in-law. I won't go into the storm of problems that resulted, but my wife has been having an affair for at least 2 years, if not more. Everyone was right. The other man is said to have died that night after suffering a heart attack on Tuesday. It seems likely that my sister-in-law and mother-in-law have been aware of this and have been doing nothing about it. I am trying to hide this from them, but to be honest, I do not know what to do next. I only know this, and it is enough to almost spell my demise. I appreciate all your support and guidance, that is all, but I am not sure how to get over this news. Please offer up prayers for me. And the 2 of us update 2. A couple people have suggested this sub to me. I recently joined and have been reading a lot of the posts whenever I have free time, usually at night when the day's turmoil is over. Of course, then the brain takes over and I have these depressive episodes. After that, I experience intense anger and then both feelings at once. It is almost impossible to sleep. Then I go about my day like a zombie. All the acronyms are something I'm trying to learn. I suppose Friday was my day. I initially believed my wife's affair lasted 2 years, but it now seems very likely that it lasted longer. She had known the man she was cheating on with AP for some time. The revelation came after he sadly died of a heart attack. With the help of my eldest daughter, I continue to research. I'm not ready to post about a lot of this yet. I am not ready to post on many topics yet. I honestly did not intend to post about my predicament, but so many people have given me so much support and guidance that it is practically therapeutic to know that so many other individuals are going through this kind of pain. I am so sorry for that yesterday and today. Today I had meetings with 2 different attorneys to go over my alternatives. I also made several calls about treatment, but where I live the wait periods are really long. I am making an effort to follow a lot of the advice given to me by others, such as not drinking, although I don't and never have, taking care of myself, exercising, etc. For someone my age, I would say I'm in excellent shape, but right now I'm struggling to find the motivation to work out. I realize that a lot of you will want specifics like who, what, when, and so on, but please know that I'm just not ready to go into all that yet. It feels like a new bomb goes off every day, and all I want is some guidance on one item. My wife, the mother of my 3 beautiful girls and my best friend since high school, was everything to me. We secretly shake hands and share inside jokes. It's all gone. It's all just gone. I get really depressed when I think back on all of our years together, including every milestone. I get really depressed when I think back on all of our years together, including every milestone and every laugh. It's disempowering. It seems like she didn't care about any of it, and now she's not going to be in my future. Of course, the "how could you?" question comes up, and I'm gripped by an insatiable rage. I pound the mattress and scream into my pillow until my arms hurt. The cycle is horrible. The cycle is terrible. I only go to sleep because I am so tired. And when I wake up, the mind games begin again. My girls who have tried to take care of me, as if they were my parents, get all my energy. They are not treated fairly after learning about the affair. How did you all sleep with only your thoughts? How did you cope with the emptiness and silence? Dealing with the emptiness and silence at night other than my daughters, I've decided that sleep needs to be my top priority in all of this. I'm hoping you can help though, because I just can't. Many thanks to all of you. Update 3. I apologize for my relative inexperience on Reddit. A little over a week has passed since my D-dash. However, I'm not sure how much of my circumstances I should reiterate or repeat. I've since discovered that my wife's affair lasted more than 4 years, no exact time frame, but it most likely started emotionally before it became physical. I'm also interested in how the epidemic and lockdowns affected this. I may or may not find out the answers. In any case, my in-laws unexpectedly came to visit, and I'm not sure how much of this I should reiterate or repeat. Yesterday, my in-laws unexpectedly came to visit their grandchildren, and since this ordeal began, we have been staying at their house, which is totally ridiculous. Of course, they greeted the girls for a total of 15 minutes. In any case, my wife wants to return home, but is afraid of the consequences of her behavior and is unable to face her past. Her parents have also done extensive research to find out if I intend to file for divorce, and they have put a lot of effort into convincing me to do so. They wanted my wife out of their home, but it was also obvious that they were extremely humiliated and ashamed. The conversation was quite polite and courteous. I admitted that I had misled them by claiming that I was unsure of my future intentions, since I intend to get a divorce. I am afraid that if I tell my wife, I will never get the truth and I may never understand. But if at all possible, I want her to sit in front of me and explain everything. I want her to look me in the eye and tell me everything after we have been married for 17 years, been together since high school, had 3 children, made countless memories and experienced everything together. I also want my children to understand that I have given her a chance to apologize, explain herself, and resolve the situation as a responsible adult. I am constantly trying to decide which course is best for my children. I can't legally ban my wife from our home. The attorney was very clear about that. So even though I really don't want to right now, I can't stop my wife from coming home. In fact, my girls and I have begun to establish a comfortable routine. So I made a request that I felt would be impossible to meet for some time, if ever. When my wife sat down with me face to face, looked me in the eye, and told me everything about her affair from beginning to end, without hesitation or more lies, I told her she could come home. Next, she would have to meet with the girls, apologize face to face, and respond to their inquiries. It was only fair, I reasoned, since she is legally free to return home anytime she pleases and is under no obligation. However, I might be able to take advantage of her fear of us. Is that wrong here? I am not trying to be cunning or dishonest. I just don't want to live together just yet. If I can postpone it, our state has a 90-day waiting period before divorce. In any case, she will inevitably return home. Life will go on despite this disaster, and eventually we will both have to return to our jobs. I just want to extend it to plan and improve my emotional and mental well-being. Since my wife says she does not want a divorce, of course, but she has been texting the women, apologizing to them over and over again. The texts have been shown to me. She inquires about me every day, and the truth of what she has done to us is really getting to her here, especially in the last few days. How can I handle this? Was my request stupid? My wife will probably return home sooner rather than later. Right now I have faith in my future. This does not scare me because I know it will happen eventually. As we move forward, I know it will happen. It will happen eventually as we move forward. I just want to choose what is best for my girls, and subsequently for myself. I am grateful to everyone who has provided support, guidance, and encouragement. Update 4. I apologize for the length, but I just need to get this out of the way. It is going to be a bit of an anticlimax despite the awful weekend. My wife returned home yesterday. As the week progressed, there was quite a lot of build-up to it. Normally, when she walked through the door, I would hug and kiss her, but I don't know what to do. Before she spoke, she actually approached me and tried to hug me, but I pushed her away, unbelievably, as if nothing had happened. Of course, I begged her to tell me everything, and after she calmed down, she once again stated that she wasn't ready. I took a few long breaths and tried to compose myself, although it took a lot to keep from yelling at her. I did not succeed. After the first of many long pauses, I abruptly stated that she had been having an affair with a coworker for over 4 years, that she had planned to leave me for another man, that she had ghosted her entire family, and that she was now entering the room without me. I suppose this is where the strangeness began. It was clear from her facial expressions and body language that she was unaware of my level of knowledge about her affair. She gave me a blank stare before simply standing in the kitchen and staring at the floor. She remained silent and stern, not at all what I expected, perhaps an emotional outburst, a tearful confession, or even her swearing at me. Not this response, but rather a somber, "Okay, let's sit down and talk this out," to be honest. We must have stood there in complete silence in the kitchen for 5 minutes. It was simply the strangest thing I had ever experienced. Both she and I were obviously at a loss for words. I had read all of your remarks and suggestions regarding my predicament. I had even made notes. I had prepared myself for every eventuality this conversation might bring, with the exception of the fact that I had not been able to get a word in edgewise. I finally made the decision to document what I knew about her affair at that very moment. I may have been foolish, but I told her what I knew, albeit with some assumptions about how she met AP, her sister's involvement, what happened during COVID, etc. All she could do was look at the floor. She didn't say anything. So I became more and more angry, but I did everything in my power to avoid becoming profane or raising my voice. Finally, I calmed down. Another long, uneasy pause followed. Sadness replaced anger. As everything became clear, then I gently asked her what I had done to make her leave. Was I ever loved by her? Was a P worth it? She remained silent, did not move, remained motionless. Nothing from her, no sobs, no regrets, no cries, no justifications. She just stood with her head down. Nothing. This was painful, maybe more painful than day. I don't know if I would have moved on that day. I'm not sure if I would have moved. I just stood there looking at her. Then of course it got worse. The whole interaction was overheard by our girls. I'm just so damn stupid. The last few weeks, I've been trying so hard to take care of their needs and put them first, but after I confronted my wife, I got emotional and stopped caring where they were. Our oldest daughter, who had a lot of pin-up rage, stormed downstairs. This is where we are now. Before I went to sleep last night, I could hear my wife sobbing for most of the night. Only our youngest has tried to communicate with her. The others have stayed away from her. I'm going to suggest that she stay with her sister until we can finalize the divorce if I can muster the confidence. You were all right about my wife and I was wrong about every year we spent together. Every memory and every moment that changed our lives. I thought she would fall to her knees and ask for forgiveness. I truly believe she would confess the truth and repent for all that has happened. For this woman, who once drove back to a farmer's market after realizing she had been given $10 more in change than she was supposed to. We are not worth it. She doesn't value me. Maybe I never have been. All I want to do is move on from this whole situation, from the divorce, to the uncomfortable conversations, to the expected fights, arguments, and drama. How did you deal with having to live with your WS, especially when you have children? I am aware that this is just the beginning. I keep reading blogs that say things will get better, but I am far from that right now. I can't stop wanting to yell at every opportunity. Of course I'm making every effort to keep the girls' minds calm. But I'm not sure I can keep it up for 3 months before all of this is over. School will start. This is my life now. I guess I appreciate everyone's strong interest in me. I'm not sure if the worst is over or not, but I would appreciate any help you can give me to get through this next stage. Update 5. Since my wife returned home and I found out about her affair, I've been in a terrible mood for my daughters. I have been doing my best to pretend I am trying to think and speak appropriately, but tonight, I have to face reality. It comes in waves, as many of you post daily, but tonight I was hit by a very large one, and became somewhat upset. My WWD has not yet hired a lawyer despite the divorce being filed, and once again I am trying to be as gentle and patient as I can in this situation, because I'm beginning to see the possibility of an uncontested divorce that will primarily handle ourselves, but I'm not sure after tonight. We've been living together all week, and because WW works so close to our family home, she spends Friday nights at her sister's and Sunday nights at home, but if there's no traffic, her sister is an hour away. It's been a habit of basically avoidance with W for the past few weeks. W is basically keeping to herself, and the girls and I are trying to go about our daily lives on a regular basis. Although we do have informal conversations every night, my oldest daughter and my W have stopped talking after a couple of heated arguments right now. It's for the best. I've been following a lot of your advice lately. In addition to what I've been reading, I've been putting a lot of effort into maintaining my self-control around my wife, and even though it's been hard, I'm still trying to keep my distance from her. Even though it takes all my strength and willpower, I've been brief and uninterested in our little conversations. Although I've always been polite and respectful. The last 2 Fridays so far, she's come home from work, gathered a few things, and gone to her sister's for the weekend before I did. I tried to ignore her tonight, but she gently took my hand and asked me if I was going to treat her like this because she was not ready to talk to me about her affair. By the way, since everything went public about a month ago, this is the first time she has ever talked about her affair. I made an effort, I swear to you. I tried to just walk away and bite my tongue, but I got angry because our daughters weren't home at the time. I then released all of my vices, hurts, pains, anger, and misery. I let her do it all. I went on for so long I can't even remember. I completely forgot what time it was. I got a little animated and loud at times, and I raised my voice. I just broke down and told her how devastated I am, how much pain I go through every day and everything that has been haunting me and that I have been holding back. I mean, if I tried to summarize what I said, this piece would be 4,000 words long. I had no intention of stopping. Once I got going, of course, I broke down and started crying again. After that, I was furious with myself. Damn it, I did great. It got to me. I allowed it to get to me. I was aware it was going to happen. I was aware it was horrible. I can only express so much in the waiting room, and it's been building for a while. In addition, we really broke down and became emotional for the first time. She started to cry furiously, which surprised me. Unfortunately, to see that she was experiencing the same pain as I was made me happy. I wish I didn't care, but it felt good to see her finally cry, as it showed that there was someone with some empathy in her. Surprisingly, she apologized. Several times as I exploded. She just said, "I'm so sorry," while sobbing in a horrible way. But finally I left the kitchen before she could gather herself enough to say anything more. I asked her to stop bothering me, which she did. She spent some time in the kitchen before going back to her sister's house. After half an hour, the girls realized something had happened when they got home. I didn't want to talk about it, and I don't think they should know about it, do you? I don't want to stop the two youngest from developing, because they were doing so much better, and I don't want to add to my oldest's anger by telling her about it. I detest it so much. I detest it. I should have stayed calm. I should have just ignored my WW and walked right by her now. I'm not sure. Looking back, it seems like she was just trying to bring up her affair but wasn't sure how to do it. Obviously, she didn't get very far because I blew up. I'm really worried about her now. I don't want her to suffer any harm, but I'm aware that many of you are going to be. I'm really disappointed in myself. I apologize for the long tirade. I also yelled at my brother on the phone. I'll try to start again on Monday. Man, I'm only human. I have to admit that it felt wonderful to vent to her, but now I'm feeling regret. Is it better to text my wife or ignore her? I'm a complete wreck. However, I appreciate you listening and giving me the help I need to get through this and giving me all your suggestions. We have all started treatment, so that's something in the middle of the turmoil, but this is really hard, just really hard. Update 6. Thank you so much. Really difficult, just really difficult. Update 6. Thank you for your concern. I know a lot of you have contacted me. Most of you were right. Things are not going well, and I haven't had a chance to access the internet. I was hoping to take a vacation from the internet, but I have regressed a lot this week. It has just been terrible. My wife has been really kind and has apologized for this. She hasn't really left me alone this week. I've talked to her when I felt like it, but I've also mostly ignored her. On Wednesday night, I finally lost my temper with her and told her to stop bothering me. Wife returned home a little over a month ago. Now that we've started this awkward cohabitation routine, she came into my room after the daughters went to bed and begged to speak to me alone. Unlike how she'd been approaching me all week, I fed her first, but to avoid making the same mistake twice in front of the kids, we ended up going to the garage and sitting in my car. I apologize for the long apology. She filled me in on everything. We spent about 3 hours out there. She said I'm not sure how much to divulge. I couldn't sleep, so I stayed up all night listening to her cry again. I also shed tears. I then got so angry I had to force myself not to go in and yell at her, then SOB, then anger, and so on. I apologize if I don't respond to anyone for a day or so, but I need to get this off my chest. I need to get this off my chest before I try to sleep. Having my WW apologize and ask for another chance all the time hasn't helped. I had to leave for a few hours tonight as well in order to avoid her. Just put, being around her hurts so much. Anyway, her sister introduced her to her AP about 5 years ago. Apparently with no romantic ambitions. However, he was a higher up at the company she currently works for and wanted to work for. She was able to convince him that her affair was not the reason behind her desire to change jobs. However, it goes without saying that she had more motivation after changing jobs. The AP started flirting with her once she was hired, texting first, followed by pictures, and then more texting. Then right before struck, things got physical. She wanted to tell me right after confessing to her sister, but she chose to keep it to herself. Of course, my wife claimed that she went and see with her AP shortly after, but he contacted her again as soon as the restrictions and lockdowns were loosened, and she continued to talk to him until the physical aspect of the affair resurfaced. She claimed to have stopped the affair a few times out of remorse as soon as the businesses resumed operations, but she continued to return to him, so it never ended. In essence, she provided a great deal of information. She recited the full 5-page packet of handwritten notes detailing the entire affair, pages of handwritten notes detailing the history of the affair, answering questions as she went along, making false statements about weekend trips with the girls. Work. The list was long, as I expected. She told me so many falsehoods that I just believed everything she said without questioning it, that it was just a front to be with him, though it only made me feel worse to hear it. Everyone was right, however. Her love never really wavered. She never became distant during all of this. Contrary to what I often read, although the intimacy shifted, it wasn't enough for me to be concerned. In any case, she admits that she fell in love with AP and wanted a life with him. A life with him. He promised her luxuries, travel, and everything he could do for her. He was older, divorced, and unmarried. She claimed that the excitement of being with him was too much to resist and began to fantasize about escaping from her duties with the family. She remarked on how bored she was with the daily routines of family life. She seemed honest, quite emotional, and extremely open. Halfway through, I began to cry and lose my temper. As you can imagine, hearing all this hurt, of course. When she finished her confession, she told me how much she loved me and always would, and that she would stop at nothing to be with me, and that she would love me and always would, and that she would stop at nothing to try to keep the marriage intact. Many of you expected this, but it all seemed so fake to me, as if it had been practiced. Having spent more than half my life with this woman, I can tell when she is acting shady. I don't think it matters if I'm wrong, but I was more composed than I had been. The week before, nevertheless, I got angry and said some hurtful things, like making fun of her AP for having several girlfriends, of which she was just one that he was willing to dump. She seemed quite offended by this. When I think about that moment when she would finally reveal all the onliners I could say to her, or things I could say to hurt her back, a million thoughts went through my mind. I couldn't think of hundreds of answers during that emotional moment the other night, but I knew I would ask if AP was still alive, and she had to choose between me and him. Who would she choose? She hesitated, and then whispered that wasn't fair. I pressed the subject, and then she finally stated she would of course choose me. In response, I said she was lying again, which is why I was divorcing her. The last thing she said was that she started crying. We spent some time in the car. She continued to cry, but I was exhausted, so I simply told her that we were divorcing and that we owed it to the children to be there in their lives, to be good parents, and to get along amicably. I also said that I hoped she was a decent enough person to end our divorce amicably and fairly after all the pain she had caused me, which would show her true affection for me. Please realize that I am not a petty person, and that I did not mean to hurt her intentionally. I told her that I had stolen something from another website. It just seemed like the right way to put it. However, I really meant what I said and did. After telling her that I would have loved her forever and leaning over to kiss her on the forehead, I got out of the car and went to bed. That was it. Of course, I didn't get much sleep the night before, and now I am having trouble falling asleep tonight. I have no idea what will happen next. One positive, I suppose, is that she no longer has the chance to contest the divorce. However, I have yet to speak to my lawyer. I am crying again and returning to my angry and depressed states. Hearing everything last night was really difficult, even though I could have avoided it all. She may have lied and made it up too, now that I know. Who knows? However, it seemed to go well with everything I had put together over the past month. For the time being, that is it. It seems like this never ends. I feel strong again after a few good days, and then something else happens. Even though it was only days, it feels like months have passed. However, I will try to get some rest. Imagine this is the only woman you have ever loved, and kiss her. You have ever loved and kissed the love of your life, informs you that she has been cheating on you for more than 4 years because she was bored, had no relationship problems, no dead bedroom, no falling out of love, no growing apart, nothing of the sort, just because of her boredom. I am not sure if that makes it better or worse. Thank you for reading and for your support. It has been a rough couple of nights. Horrible.